During my son's wedding, when everyone was applauding the newlyweds, an unknown number rang. Stop this wedding! Immediately! I barely had time to step out onto the terrace. Who is this? Why? The voice on the other end was cold and confident. You need to know the truth about your son's bride. What he said shocked me. You won't believe what she wanted to do. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I was reviewing quarterly inventory reports when Kevin burst through the showroom doors. The fluorescent lights caught something metallic in his hand, an engagement ring box. He held it up like a trophy. Dad, I did it. I asked Jessica to marry me last night. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. 5 months. You've known her 5 months. When you know, you know. Isn't that what you always said about Mom? The comparison stung. I set the mug down carefully, buying myself 3 seconds to arrange my face into something resembling congratulations. Kevin's excitement filled the space between us. Flushed cheeks, restless energy, that grin I remembered from his childhood Christmas mornings. I wanted to feel happy for him. Instead, my business instincts activated like an alarm system. Let me meet her properly, I said. Dinner tonight? That evening, I arrived at the Italian place in the Pearl District before them. White tablecloths, soft lighting, prices that kept the restaurant half empty on weeknights. Through the window, I watched them approach. Jessica's hand rested in the crook of Kevin's elbow. She wore a dress that probably cost what most people spent on rent. Kevin made introductions. Jessica's handshake lasted a fraction too long, her grip deliberately firm. Her eyes assessed me the way I'd seen commercial buyers assess inventory, cataloging value, calculating worth. Ralph, Kevin tells me you built the business from scratch. How many locations now? 7? 8? 6 currently. We focus on quality over expansion. Smart, though with Portland's growth, seems like opportunity knocking. I ordered wine. Jessica steered every conversation topic toward business metrics. When I asked about her background, she deflected with practiced ease. Jessica, Kevin mentioned you're from Seattle originally. What brings you to Portland? Oh, you know how it is. Sometimes you need a fresh start, new city, new energy. Plus, the design scene here is incredible. Design scene. Your family still in Seattle? She touched Kevin's hand. Kevin, didn't you say the Osso Buco here is phenomenal? Should we order it? I watched her throughout the meal. When Kevin discussed emotions, she leaned toward him, all warmth and attention. When business topics arose, her posture straightened, her focus sharpened. Her fingers traced the edge of her wine glass during uncomfortable questions, a tell I catalogued for later. Kevin positioned himself between us whenever I probed too directly. His hand found her arm, reassuring, protective. He'd chosen his side already. Dessert arrived. Jessica laughed about something Kevin said, then turned that smile on me. With a family business this successful, your dad must have lawyers telling him to lock everything down tight. Prenup City, right? Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Jess, I'm teasing. We don't need that kind of thing. We trust each other completely. I said nothing. My silence expanded across the table like spilled wine. Kevin broke it. Dad, there's no rush, but... Son, there's no rush. You could wait. Get to know each other better? We are sure. Why can't you just be happy for me? Jessica touched his hand again. Your father's being protective. It's sweet, actually. The check came. I paid, made appropriate goodbyes, walked to my car in the parking structure. Inside, I sat with the engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel. Jessica's laugh echoed in my memory, warm, practiced, perfect. Too perfect. I pulled into my driveway and sat in the darkness, engine ticking as it cooled. Through 35 years of business, I'd learned to read people. The ones who asked too many questions about money while pretending they didn't care. The ones who deflected personal history while mining yours for details. The ones whose performances were just slightly too polished. I needed to know more. The question was how much time I had before Kevin made this permanent. The next 2 weeks crawled by with Jessica becoming a fixture in Kevin's apartment. I maintained my supportive father routine while cataloging every interaction, every comment that felt slightly off-key. The real test came on a Sunday morning when Kevin invited me to brunch. They arrived at my house together. Jessica surveyed the living room with an expression I recognized from customers evaluating furniture they considered beneath them. You know, Ralph, these pieces are a bit dated. When was this collection made? The 90s? Kevin jumped to defense. It's from our heritage line, classic design. Classic is one word for it. Maybe it's time for the company to embrace contemporary aesthetics. Younger buyers want different things. I poured coffee with deliberate calm. Our heritage line remains our best seller. To a specific demographic, sure. Her hand ran dismissively over the leather sofa arm. We moved to the dining table. Jessica picked at her food while discussing business strategy as if she'd already claimed ownership. Kevin's been telling me about the company structure. Seems like it could benefit from fresh eyes, modern management approaches. We've been successful for 35 years with our approach. 35 years is exactly my point. Markets evolve. After the wedding, maybe Kevin and I could review operations, suggest improvements. Kevin leaned forward enthusiastically. That's not a bad idea, Dad. Jessica has great business instincts. I'm sure she does. I waited until she excused herself to the restroom before speaking quietly. Kevin, I've been thinking. There's no rush on setting a date. Why not take some time? Enjoy being engaged. Here we go. I'm simply saying that knowing someone 5 months, 6 months by the time we get married, and you knew Mom for 4 months before you proposed. The comparison landed like a physical blow. Different circumstances. We were younger. So I'm too old to know my own mind now, Jessica returned, timing perfect. She stood behind Kevin's chair, silent, watching me with calculating eyes while my son fought her battle. You're never satisfied with my choices. Nothing I do is good enough. I set my coffee cup down carefully. That's not fair, Kevin. Mom would have liked Jessica. Mom would have been happy for me instead of finding problems with everything. The words hit exactly where he'd aimed them. Don't. Don't what? Don't point out that you've been impossible since she died? That you can't stand seeing me happy? Jessica's voice came soft, gentle. Kevin, maybe we should go. Your father needs time to think. Kevin stood abruptly. His chair scraped against hardwood, the sound sharp in the sudden tension. You know what, Dad? If you can't support this wedding, then maybe you shouldn't come. Kevin, I mean it. I'm done trying to get your approval. I'm a grown man making my own decisions. The door slammed. Through the window, I watched them walk to Kevin's car. Jessica glanced back once, her expression unreadable. I cleared the table mechanically. Plates into the dishwasher, cups rinsed, surface wiped clean. The mundane routine kept my hands busy while my mind cataloged the confrontation. Jessica had never raised her voice, never directly attacked me. She'd simply sat back and let Kevin weaponize his grief, his frustration, his love for his dead mother. That evening, I sat in my study as twilight deepened the shadows. My business Rolodex lay open on the desk, old school, but I'd never trusted purely digital records. I flipped through contacts accumulated over decades. Amanda Richardson, Private Investigations. A colleague had used her services during a partnership dispute 2 years ago. Thorough, discreet, fast. The only adjectives that mattered now. I pulled out my phone and typed, Need comprehensive background check. Urgent. Can we meet tomorrow? My thumb hovered over the send button. This crossed a line. Invaded privacy. Violated trust between father and son. I hit send. Whatever Jessica Turner was hiding, I would find it. My son's future depended on it. Amanda Richardson's office sat above a Korean restaurant in southeast Portland, the kind of place you'd never notice unless you knew to look. I climbed the narrow stairs the morning after my decision, the scent of kimchi and determination equally sharp. My message had reached her late the previous night. Her response came at 6 a.m. 10 o'clock, bring everything you know. She met me at the door. Former cop, my accountant had said. It showed in her posture, her direct gaze, the way she assessed me in 3 seconds flat. Your accountant said you needed discretion. What are we looking at? My son's engaged. 5 months of dating, now planning a wedding. Something feels wrong. She gestured to a chair across from her desk. Feelings aren't evidence. Give me facts. She asked too many questions about money. She answers none about herself. She knew details about my business before we met. Amanda made notes on a yellow legal pad. That's not romance. That's research. I provided what I had. Jessica's name, Kevin's timeline, the dinner observations, the brunch confrontation. Amanda wrote everything down with the methodical precision of someone who documented worse things than my suspicions. 2 weeks minimum, she said. Maybe 3. Can you maintain normal relations with your son that long? I'll manage. The waiting was torture. I showed up to work each morning, reviewed inventory reports with Kevin, discussed spring promotion strategies. We were professionally civil, personally distant. He thought I was giving him space to plan his wedding. I was giving Amanda time to build an unassailable case. Twice during those 3 weeks, I saw Jessica at the store, playing the devoted fiancée, asking Kevin about product lines with that practiced charm. Each time, I excused myself before I said something I'd regret. Amanda sent brief updates. Found second marriage record. Located ex-husband number 1. You're going to want to sit down for this. Each message tightened the knot in my chest. Mid-April, she called. Mr. Fisher, we need to meet. Today, if possible. You found something. I found everything. How soon can you get here? 30 minutes. Bring coffee. This will take a while. I made the drive in 25 minutes. Amanda had documents spread across her desk, like a card dealer revealing a losing hand. Jessica Turner isn't her original name. She was Jessica Morrison until 2019, then Jessica Turner Morrison, then back to Turner after divorce number 2. 2 divorces. 2 divorces, 2 wealthy husbands, 2 devastated men. Want to guess the pattern? Tell me. She walked me through it systematically. Mark Morrison, restaurant owner, Portland. Married 2018, divorced 2019. Brian Turner, tech entrepreneur, Seattle. Married 2020, divorced 2023. Both rapid engagements. Both rejected prenups. Because love means trust. Both marriages ending in accusations and lucrative settlements. Amanda read from a transcript. Quote from husband number 1. She said a prenup meant we didn't trust each other. 3 months after the wedding, she convinced me to add her to the restaurant's operating agreement. 6 months later, she filed for divorce, claiming emotional abuse. I lost the business in the settlement. My hands trembled slightly, holding the pages. And the second husband? Brian Turner. Same story, different industry. She walked away with $500,000 from his startup. He's been trying to rebuild for 3 years. How did she even find Kevin? Amanda slid a photograph across the desk. She didn't find him. She hunted him. The image showed Jessica outside our flagship store. The date stamp read, last November. 2 months before she'd randomly met Kevin at his regular coffee shop. She wasn't shopping. She was researching. She asked employees about the owner's family, about succession plans, about your son specifically. I leaned back in my chair, one hand covering my mouth. This was planned. From the beginning. 3 different employees confirmed she came in multiple times, asked questions, took photos. This wasn't chance. This was strategy. She handed me a manila folder thick with documents, marriage certificates, divorce decrees, testimony transcripts, surveillance reports, employee statements. The pattern was undeniable to anyone willing to see it. Is any of this provable in court? The marriages and divorces are public record. The pattern is obvious to anyone looking, but proving intent before marriage, that's harder. What would you do if this was your son? Amanda met my eyes. I'd show him everything, and I'd pray he had the sense to listen. I drove back to my store, gripping the steering wheel, the folder on the passenger seat like a loaded weapon. In my office, I locked it in the safe, the combination dial clicking with finality. 2 days I kept that folder locked away, planning my approach like a chess game where my son's future was the prize. I needed the right moment, the right setting, the right words. Tuesday evening, I texted Kevin. Need to discuss some business matters. My office after closing. His response came quickly. Fine. 7 p.m. He thought we were finally moving past our argument. He thought wrong. I pulled the folder from the safe and placed it on my desk. Manila edges aligned with the calendar blotter. Everything about this meeting would be precise, controlled, strategic. At 6:55, I heard his footsteps in the hallway. Kevin's footsteps echoed in the empty hallway at 6:58. I'd sent everyone home an hour early, told them I had paperwork to finish. The truth sat in the manila folder on my desk, too heavy for witnesses. He knocked twice, then entered without waiting for my response. The confidence in that gesture reminded me he'd grown up in these offices, back when his mother brought him here after school. You said you wanted to discuss business? I closed the door behind him. The deadbolt clicked. Sit down, son. This is important. He settled into the chair across from me, casual. If this is about the summer inventory order, it's about Jessica. His posture changed instantly. Dad, not this again. I opened the folder with controlled care, like diffusing a bomb. I need you to look at something. Just look. Then we'll talk. What is this? Marriage certificate. Jessica Turner to Mark Morrison, Portland, 2018. He leaned forward reading. She told me about Mark. That marriage was a mistake. And Brian Turner, Seattle, 2020. Divorced, 2023. She told you about him too? Silence. Okay, so she was married twice. People have pasts. You're judging her for failed relationships? I'm not judging the marriages. I'm showing you the pattern. What pattern? I spread more documents across the desk. Both wealthy men. Both rapid engagements. Both refused prenups. Both devastating divorces where she walked away with significant money. Both businesses damaged. Kevin pushed the papers back toward me. Those men probably deserved what they got. I pulled out testimony transcripts. Mark Morrison states, she convinced me adding her to the business was about partnership. 6 months after the wedding, she filed for divorce and took half the restaurant. Does that sound familiar? His face flushed. You hired someone to investigate Jessica? I hired someone to protect you. No, you hired someone to prove you right. To prove I'm too stupid to choose my own life. I slid the surveillance photograph across the desk. This is our store. Last November. 2 months before she randomly met you at that coffee shop. He barely glanced at it. So what? She shopped here. We sell furniture. She wasn't shopping. She was researching. She asked employees about the owner's family, about succession plans, about you. You're making up stories to fit your narrative. 3 different employees confirmed it. It's in the report. Kevin stood abruptly, his chair rolling backward. You can't control me anymore. I'm not a child. I remained seated, trying to project calm. I'm trying to save you from making a terrible mistake. No, you're trying to control my life because you can't control your own. You've been impossible since Mom died. Don't. Do not bring your mother into this. Why not? It's the truth. You can't stand seeing me happy because you're miserable. The words hit like physical blows. I kept my voice level. Your mother would have seen through Jessica in 5 minutes. You don't get to speak for her. You don't get to use her as ammunition. I'm using facts as ammunition. Look at the evidence. I'm looking at a father who's become a stranger, someone who'd rather destroy my happiness than admit he might be wrong. He grabbed his jacket from the chair back, movements jerky with anger. I stood, desperate to reach him before he left. Kevin, please, just postpone the wedding. Give yourself time to verify. Verify what? Your paranoid theories? Your paid investigator's gossip? These are court documents, public records, testimony from, I don't care. Jessica and I are getting married in 6 weeks. You can either support that or you can stay away. Son, I mean it, Dad. If you can't be happy for me, don't come to the wedding. Don't call. Don't interfere. I'm done. You're making a mistake that could cost you everything. His hand was on the doorknob. The only mistake I made was thinking you'd changed, thinking you could let me be my own person. I love you. That's why I'm doing this. No, if you loved me, you'd trust me. The door slammed. The windows vibrated. Then silence. I stood there for several seconds before sitting down heavily. The evidence lay scattered across my desk like casualties. Kevin would tell Jessica about this conversation. She'd know I was onto her. The direct approach had failed. Worse, it had driven my son further into her arms. The silence lasted until midnight. I gathered the documents carefully, returning them to the folder with methodical precision. If Kevin wouldn't let me save him with truth, I'd have to save him another way. I picked up my phone and began typing. You're right. I've been overbearing. I'm sorry. If Jessica makes you happy, I'll support your decision. Let's talk about the wedding. The words tasted like ash, but chess players sometimes sacrifice pieces to protect the king. I hit send. Wednesday morning, I had an appointment scheduled with an attorney named Stephen Grant. If Kevin wouldn't end this engagement, I'd make sure Jessica couldn't destroy him when the marriage inevitably failed. A week of silence felt like a year. We passed each other in the office hallways with the careful distance of strangers, exchanged necessary emails about inventory and vendor contracts, maintained the fiction that Fisher's Fine Furniture could function with its two leaders barely speaking. By Friday, the tension had become unsustainable. I found myself staring at my phone, Stephen Grant's business card beside it, knowing I had a choice: let my son marry a predator while our relationship disintegrated, or swallow my pride and build a different kind of protection. I picked up the phone, put it down, picked it up again. Finally, I sent a text. "Kevin, can we talk? My office?" His response took 20 minutes. "Fine, 5 o'clock." He arrived with defensive body language, arms crossed, standing rather than sitting. I stood from behind my desk, moved to the chairs by the window. Different positioning than our last conversation in this room, different outcome needed. "Thank you for coming. I know this week has been difficult. If you're going to lecture me again, I'm not. I'm here to apologize." Silence. His arms stayed crossed, but I saw the surprise. I was too harsh. Maybe I was wrong. "Dad, I didn't mean—" "You meant it, and you might be right. I've been holding on too tight, trying to protect you from everything. About your mother, about me being unable to let go." Kevin's posture softened slightly. "I just want to make my own choices." "I know. And Jessica is your choice. I need to respect that." He uncrossed his arms, still didn't sit. "So you're saying you accept Jessica now?" "I'm saying everyone deserves a second chance, including me, to get to know her properly, without suspicion clouding everything." "That's all I've been asking for." "I want to be at your wedding, son. You're the most important person in my life. I won't let my fears cost me our relationship." He sat then. His eyes were wet. "That means everything to me." I let the moment breathe, then shifted gears carefully. "There is one thing I need to ask. It's not about trust. It's about business practice." Tension crept back into his shoulders. "What?" "A prenuptial agreement. Standard protection for family businesses. My attorney has been advising it for years, regardless of who you married. Jessica isn't after our money. Then she'll understand it's just paperwork. Protection that benefits both of you. If your marriage is strong, and I'm sure it will be, you'll never need it." Kevin studied my face. I kept it open, honest, reasonable. "You're really okay with this wedding?" "I'm okay with your happiness. If Jessica makes you happy, that's what matters." "Then I'll talk to her about the prenup. But I'm sure she'll agree. She's reasonable about business matters." "I'm sure she is. When's the date?" "Early June. 3 weeks from now. We wanted something simple but elegant. I'll be there, front row." We shook hands. Formal, but connection reestablished. After he left, I exhaled deeply, removed the mask, felt my face harden with determination. I opened my laptop and typed an email to Stephen Grant. He agreed to the prenup conversation. Draft the strongest contract Oregon law allows. 2 days later, Kevin called, excited. Jessica agreed to the prenup. She said she completely understands protecting family business. "That's wonderful, son." She said she's marrying me, not the furniture company. The prenup doesn't change anything between us. She sounds very understanding. Too understanding. She thought she could work around it. I drove downtown to Stephen Grant's office the next morning. "Your son agreed to the prenup conversation. Smart move on your part." "She agreed too quickly." "What does that tell you?" Stephen leaned back in his chair. "That she either doesn't understand contract law, or she's planning to become so integrated into the business that the prenup becomes irrelevant." "The second one. Can we prevent that?" "We can try. Let me show you some corporate structure options." The 3 weeks until the wedding moved with surreal momentum. I helped Kevin review venue contracts, discuss seating arrangements, played the role of supportive father with practiced precision. Stephen Grant drafted a prenuptial agreement that would take a team of attorneys years to penetrate. Jessica signed it without reading the details, barely glancing at the 50-page document before her elegant signature appeared on the final page. "See, Dad?" Kevin said afterward, relief in his voice. "She's not what you thought." I nodded, smiled, said nothing about the corporate restructuring documents I'd signed that same morning, the ones that made it impossible for Kevin to transfer business equity without board approval. The wedding day arrived with Portland's rare early June sunshine. The ceremony took place at sunset, Portland's skyline glowing amber through floor-to-ceiling windows. I watched Kevin say his vows with that radiant certainty of young men who believe love conquers everything. Jessica wore white silk that probably cost more than some people's cars, her smile perfect and practiced. When the officiant pronounced them married, the guests erupted in applause. I clapped too, playing my part, feeling the weight of the prenup document in my mental inventory. Signed, notarized, filed. First line of defense in place. The reception swallowed us into celebration. 200 guests, flowers everywhere, a band that probably charged more per hour than most people earned in a day. I gave my toast carefully, hitting notes of love and hope without choking on the dishonesty. Kevin glowed. Jessica radiated triumph. I watched. My phone vibrated in my jacket pocket during the dancing. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. The insistence of the vibration felt urgent. I navigated through the crowd, found a terrace overlooking the city. The door closed behind me, muffling the music. Hello? Mr. Fisher? Ralph Fisher? Yes. Who is this? My name is Brian Morgan. You don't know me, but I was married to Jessica Turner 3 years ago. Every muscle in my body tensed. I know who you are. I know this is terrible timing. Your son just married her. But you need to hear this. I'm listening. Jessica doesn't just want divorce money. She wants your business. Explain. His voice carried the weight of experience and regret. Her pattern. It's not just about settlements. It's about ownership. She'll start slow. Suggestions about business decisions. Then she'll push your son to add her to the company structure. Co-owner, partner, whatever title sounds loving and trusting. We have a prenup. Prenups protect marital assets. If she becomes a legitimate business owner through your son's decision, that's different. That's corporate law, not family law. Cold realization washed through me. Keep talking. Once she's inside the business, she'll arrange problems. Contracts with vendors who don't deliver. Deals that look good but drain cash. She'll have people, partners, consultants, who help manufacture financial trouble. To what end? Force the company into distress. Your son panics, needs to sell assets, liquidate. She owns half the business by then. She gets half of everything. My knuckles whitened around the phone. How do you know this? Because she tried it with my startup. Smaller scale, but same strategy. I caught on before she could finish, but not before she'd damaged things significantly. Can you prove any of this? I have emails where she discussed strategy with someone. I don't know who, but the conversations are clear. Recorded phone calls. Documentation of fake vendors she tried to introduce. I kept everything after the divorce. Why are you telling me this? Why now? Because I let her get away with it. Settlement, non-disclosure agreement, moving on. I've regretted it every day. When I heard she'd married again, family business, substantial assets, I knew she'd go bigger this time. Inside, the band started playing something slow. Through the glass, I could see Kevin and Jessica dancing. I can help you if you're ready to fight. What are you proposing? Evidence sharing, coordination. I testify if needed. Whatever it takes to stop her before she destroys your son's life like she tried to destroy mine. I need to think about this. Don't think too long. She works fast once the ring is on. Here's my number. Call me when you're ready. The call ended. I stood on the terrace, gripping the railing. Portland spread out below me in geometric light patterns. Inside, my son danced with a woman who planned to systematically dismantle everything I'd built, using him as the instrument of destruction. I returned to the reception, smiled, congratulated, watched Jessica across the ballroom with new understanding. She wasn't just a gold digger, she was a demolition expert in designer heels. She caught my eye, raised her glass, smiled. She thought that she'd already won. I stayed until the last guest left, embraced Kevin while Jessica watched with that triumphant smile. The drive home took me past downtown Portland, past Stephen Grant's law office where the prenup waited in fireproof filing. Useful, but insufficient. Brian's voice played on loop. She'll arrange problems. Contracts that don't deliver. Deals that drain cash. Jessica wanted to destroy my business from the inside, using my son as the key. She'd calculated her approach perfectly, except for one variable. I pulled into my driveway and sat in darkness, phone in hand, Brian's number on screen. He'd offered evidence, coordination, testimony. an alliance between victims, past and future. I opened my contacts. Stephen Grant, Amanda Richardson, Brian Morgan. Tomorrow we'd begin building something Jessica had never faced before, a coordinated defense that would become an offense. She'd declared war on my family. She just didn't know I'd found her battle plans. I texted Brian, "Tomorrow, my office, 9 a.m. Bring everything." His response came instantly. "Ready." Sunday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that follows sleepless nights spent planning war. Kevin and Jessica had left at dawn for a week-long honeymoon along the Oregon coast. Cannon Beach, she'd mentioned. Somewhere romantic and isolated. Perfect. I needed them gone while I assembled my team. At 9 a.m. sharp, I unlocked my office door to find Brian Morgan already waiting in the parking lot, a leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder like ammunition. "You made good time." I've been carrying these files for 3 years, waiting for a reason to use them. This is that reason. "Show me everything." He opened the bag. Documents spilled across my desk. Emails printed and highlighted. Text messages. Annotated timelines. I picked up the first page and began reading Jessica's own words. "Once he adds me to the LLC, we can start introducing the contractors. 3 months of bleeding cash." Then suggests selling the flagship location. I looked up at Brian. She wrote this to someone. Her friend Danielle, I think. I never got a last name, but they discussed tactics openly. "This is premeditated fraud." "Yes, but proving it before she acts is the challenge. This evidence shows intent, not execution. Intent is enough if we're prepared when she makes her move." Brian played an audio recording on his phone, Jessica's voice discussing consultant networks, timing strategies, asset liquidation targets. My hands shook slightly as I took notes. "I need Mark Walters' number." "Your first husband?" "Yes. If the pattern's real, he'll confirm it." 20 minutes later, I had Mark on the phone. "Mr. Walters, my name is Ralph Fisher. Brian Morgan gave me your number. My son just married Jessica." A heavy sigh came through the line. "I'm sorry to hear that. I need to know what happened with your restaurant. How much time do you have? Because the answer is everything. She happened to everything." He told me his story. 6 months after the wedding, she'd convinced him to add her as co-owner. Partners in life, partners in business. Within a year, mysterious consultants had recommended disastrous expansions. Suppliers delivered inferior product at premium prices. The business hemorrhaged money. She filed for divorce, claimed half, forced him to sell. "Do you have documentation?" "Business records, divorce decree, consultant contracts, all of it. If you're building a case, I'll help." After lunch, I drove downtown to Stephen Grant's office. Brian met me there. We spread everything across Stephen's conference table. 3 men representing 3 chapters in Jessica Turner's predatory career, united by determination that there would be no 4th victim. The prenup protects marital assets, but if Kevin voluntarily makes her a business owner, we're in different legal territory. Can we prevent him from doing that? We can restructure the company so he can't act unilaterally, require board approval for any equity transfers or ownership changes. Do it, today, if possible. Already drafted. You'll need to sign and we'll file with the state immediately. I looked at the documents. Kevin will ask why the sudden corporate changes. Standard business practice. Growing companies formalize governance structures. You can present it as preparing for future expansion. Brian leaned forward. He won't question it until Jessica tells him to. By then it'll be too late. The structure will be locked. Stephen pulled out another file. "If she tries this, if she gets caught attempting fraud, can we end the marriage?" "Oregon allows annulment for fraudulent inducement. If we can prove she married Kevin with intent to defraud the family business, yes. But the evidence standard is high. What do we need? Documentation of her pattern, proof she researched the business before meeting Kevin, evidence of deliberate deception. We're building that file now. They return from the honeymoon in 6 days." Stephen nodded. "Corporate restructuring will be complete by Tuesday. That gives you 4 days to implement the monitoring system." "Monitoring system?" "You need eyes on every business decision Kevin makes, every suggestion Jessica plants. Documentation, witnesses, contemporary records." "I'm spying on my own son." Brian's voice came quiet but firm. "You're protecting him from a predator. There's a difference." The corporate documents filed Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, board governance structures were official state record. Thursday, I met with my 3 board partners, trusted colleagues who'd helped build Fisher's Fine Furniture over decades, and briefed them on the threat. They understood immediately. By Friday afternoon, when Kevin and Jessica returned from Cannon Beach with sun-flushed faces and honeymoon stories, the fortress was complete. Kevin noticed nothing different. The business operated normally, I played the supportive father, and Jessica began to relax into what she thought was victory. I gave her 1 week to make her first move. She took exactly 7 days. The following Friday, Kevin invited me to dinner at their apartment, the one that technically belonged to family property holdings, but felt like enemy territory now. Jessica had prepared salmon, poured expensive wine, and sometime between the salad and main course, she made her opening gambit. The salmon was perfectly cooked. Jessica had gone to culinary school briefly, Kevin mentioned, before discovering it wasn't for her. I wondered what else she'd started and abandoned when easier prey appeared. We sat at their dining table, the apartment's large windows showing Portland's evening skyline, and I played my role. Proud father, supportive in-law, oblivious target. Kevin glowed with newlywed happiness. Jessica watched me with calculated warmth. Then somewhere between clearing the salad plates and serving the main course, she struck. Kevin was telling me about the Harrison account. Sounds like you're expanding into commercial contracts. Testing the waters. Corporate furniture is different from residential. You know what's interesting? Most successful family businesses I've researched integrate spouses into operations, creates unified vision. Kevin leaned forward. Really? Absolutely. When partners trust each other in business, it strengthens everything. Don't you think, Ralph? Every family handles it differently. The next day, Kevin approached me during inventory review. Dad, I've been thinking about what Jessica said, about spouse involvement. Oh? She has really sharp business instincts. Design background, understands markets. Maybe she could consult on some decisions. That's a significant step. How were you thinking it would work? Maybe add her to ownership structure? Not a full partnership initially, but enough to make her feel included. Company governance requires board approval for ownership changes. We should discuss it at the next meeting. Tuesday morning, the board met in our conference room. My 3 partners sat along the sides, trusted friends who understood exactly what was happening. Kevin presented his proposal at the opposite end of the table. I'm proposing we bring Jessica into the company in an advisory or ownership capacity. She has valuable perspective we're not currently utilizing. The first board member spoke carefully. Kevin, we appreciate the suggestion, but our bylaws are clear about spouse involvement. What do you mean? We have governance policies specifically addressing family additions to ownership, prevents conflicts, maintains clear liability structures. I kept my voice neutral. It's standard practice for established family businesses. Another partner added weight. I've reviewed similar structures at companies our size. Spouse involvement in ownership creates significant complications. Tax implications, liability exposure, succession planning issues. But other families do it. Jessica mentioned, some do. Our policy doesn't permit it. The vote is no. Kevin turned to me, confused. You could override this. I established the board structure to make better decisions than one person. I won't undermine it now. After the meeting, Kevin's disappointment showed clearly. I don't understand. Why have these rules suddenly appeared? They've always existed. As the company grew, we formalized governance. It happened last month. Convenient timing. Kevin, the board's protecting all of us, you included. Business decisions should be business decisions, not emotional ones. Jessica's going to be upset. She was excited about contributing. If she loves you, she'll understand. That evening, during a casual visit to their apartment, I accidentally left a manila folder on the kitchen counter. Financial reports showing rising costs, supply chain pressures, shrinking margins, all carefully fabricated to suggest trouble without triggering alarm. Tuesday evening, Kevin called. Dad, I found some financial reports at my place. Did you leave them? Oh, those. Yes, must have pulled them out when I stopped by. Sorry. These numbers look concerning. Rising costs, margin pressures. Are we in trouble? Nothing alarming. Normal business fluctuations. We're adjusting. Jessica saw them. She's worried the company might not be as stable as she thought. Internal satisfaction flooded through me. Tell her not to worry. We've weathered worse. Over the next 2 weeks, Jessica's suggestions became demands. Kevin reported each one faithfully: sell the smaller stores, liquidate inventory, reduce staffing, consider selling the business entirely. Her panic leaked through every proposal. She'd calculated her scheme based on Fisher's fine furniture being worth $8 million minimum. Now she thought it might be worth half that, and her percentage of half was barely worth the effort. I watched her unravel through Kevin's worried phone calls, dinner conversations where she pushed too hard, revealed too much urgency, showed her hand without realizing she'd stopped playing cards and started begging. The fake financial report did exactly what I'd intended: forced her to accelerate her timeline, abandon subtlety, prove Brian's warnings accurate through her own desperate actions. Wednesday afternoon, Kevin called from his apartment. His voice carried strain I hadn't heard since his mother's funeral. "Dad, we need to talk. Something's wrong with Jessica. She's different. Obsessed with the business. Angry all the time. I need your advice." Finally, the mask was cracking, and my son was starting to see underneath. Jessica's desperation manifested in a man named Derek Chambers. He appeared at our offices on a Wednesday morning in early August, carrying a leather portfolio and wearing the kind of confident smile that consultants practice in mirrors. Kevin introduced him as a business strategist Jessica had found, someone who could help us navigate current market challenges. I shook his hand and knew immediately this was her accomplice, the final piece of her scheme, arriving right on schedule. Derek spread restructuring documents across our conference table. Fisher's fine furniture is at a critical juncture. The market data shows vulnerability that requires immediate action. What kind of action? Kevin leaned forward, worried. Restructured ownership. Bring in strategic partners, or in this case, family partners, to share risk and decision-making. You're suggesting Kevin take majority control? Kevin and Jessica as co-managing partners. You'd retain ownership stake, but operational control would transfer. I watched my son's face. He was buying it. That's quite a shift. After Derek left, Kevin approached me. "Dad, he makes good points. Maybe we need fresh thinking. You've known him 3 days and you're considering restructuring a 35-year company. Jessica vetted him. He's worked with other family businesses. I'm sure he has." Kevin scheduled signing for Friday afternoon. I had 48 hours. Thursday evening, I invited him to my office. Stephen Grant waited with me, evidence folders stacked on my desk like ammunition. "Thanks for coming, Kevin. I know you're scheduled to sign Derek's proposal tomorrow." "That's the plan. Unless you see problems with the structure." "I see several problems. Stephen's here to help me explain them." Kevin noticed the attorney, his expression shifting. "This feels formal." Stephen's voice came quiet but firm. "It needs to be. What we're about to show you requires legal context." I opened the first folder. Surveillance photos of Jessica outside our store, dated November, 4 months before she'd randomly met Kevin. "What is this?" "Your wife researching our business before your chance meeting." "We've been through this?" "No. This time you'll listen, because this time I have proof you can't dismiss." For the next hour, I showed him everything: Brian's emails, Mark's testimony, Amanda's investigation, Jessica's own words in recorded conversations discussing timeline, Derek's role, exit strategy. Stephen read from one email. Quote, "Once the consultant presents restructuring, Kevin will convince his father. 3 months after, we start the vendor problems. 6 months, liquidation discussions." Dated 2 weeks ago. Who did she send that to? Unknown recipient. But the intent is clear. This could be fake. It's not. Brian Morgan provided it. Her second ex-husband. The man she did this to before you. I played the recording. Jessica's voice filled the office, discussing Derek's role, Ralph being voted out, the perfection of using Kevin as the instrument of his father's destruction. Kevin's hands trembled holding the pages, his face drained of color. "When was this recorded?" 10 days ago. "Derek Chambers isn't a consultant," I said quietly. "He's Jessica's partner. They've worked together before." "You're saying she planted him?" Stephen answered. "Mark Morrison, her first husband, had a consultant recommend expansion that bankrupted his restaurant. Same methodology. This can't be real. She loves me. She loves what you represent, access to this company. That's all she ever wanted. Kevin left my office at 10 p.m., evidence folders under his arm. I didn't hear from him until midnight, when he called from his empty apartment. She's gone, he said, voice hollow. Everything was a lie. Every word, every touch, every promise. I wanted to say I'd warned him. Instead, I said, "Come home, son. We'll deal with this together." Friday morning, Stephen Grant filed for marriage annulment in Multnomah County Court, citing fraudulent inducement with 40 pages of evidence attached. Jessica's attorney called by noon trying to negotiate. Stephen's response was 2 words: no settlement. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about justice, accountability, and ensuring Jessica Turner couldn't destroy another family. The legal war had begun, but this time we held every weapon, and she had nothing but the lies that had finally caught up with her. The courtroom proceedings moved with the grinding efficiency of justice, delayed but inevitable. Jessica's attorney tried every angle: dispute the prenup's validity, claim emotional distress, argue that Kevin had pursued her. Stephen Grant countered with documents, recordings, witness testimony, and the damning pattern of 2 previous identical marriages. 3 weeks after Jessica's midnight departure, Judge Patricia Morrison reviewed our annulment petition with the thorough attention it deserved. Brian Morgan took the stand, recounting his experience. It followed a pattern I now recognize: rapid courtship, refusal of prenup in name of trust, integration into my business, then systematic sabotage disguised as help. Stephen leaned forward. The same pattern you've observed in Mr. Fisher's case? Identical, down to the business consultant she introduced. It's not coincidence. It's methodology. Judge Morrison studied the evidence for what felt like hours. When she spoke, her voice carried disapproval sharp enough to cut. This court has reviewed extensive evidence of fraudulent inducement. The respondent entered this marriage with documented intent to deceive and defraud. The pattern established by previous marriages, the premeditated research of the petitioner's family, and the respondent's own recorded words establish clear grounds for annulment. The gavel struck. Marriage is declared void ab initio. The respondent receives no marital assets. Case closed. Jessica's attorney made one final attempt at negotiation. My client is willing to drop her counterclaims in exchange for a modest settlement. $50,000 would resolve everything quietly. Stephen didn't hesitate. Your client committed fraud. She gets nothing. If she continues fighting, we'll pursue criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. Victory felt less satisfying than I'd expected. Kevin hadn't attended the proceedings, too painful to witness. He spent those weeks in therapy, processing betrayal that cut deeper than any of us could fully understand. One afternoon in the therapist's office, she asked him what he needed from me. I need him not to say he was right. I need him to let me feel stupid without confirming it. You're not stupid, I said. You're human. She was professional. This is what she does. I should have listened to you. I should have found a way to reach you better. We both made mistakes. Recovery wasn't linear. Some days Kevin barely functioned. Other days he threw himself into work with intensity that worried me. But gradually something shifted. He began seeing the business differently, not as obligation or inheritance, but as something worth understanding, worth building, worth protecting. Late one evening I found him at his desk, surrounded by expansion proposals. You've been here until midnight 3 nights this week. You don't have to punish yourself with work. I'm not punishing myself. I'm finally understanding what you've been building. The customers, the craft, the relationships. It matters. You're seeing the business differently now. I'm seeing everything differently now, including how much I took for granted. September arrived with Kevin proposing something ambitious. A new flagship store in downtown Portland's Pearl District. Prime location. Expensive. A statement that we weren't just surviving, we were thriving. When did you become the ambitious one? I asked, surprised. When I realized this company is worth fighting for, like you've been fighting all along. The grand opening drew 200 guests. Kevin gave a speech about family, resilience, and the values I'd instilled in every piece we created. Watching him, confident, purposeful, genuinely engaged, I felt something more powerful than vindication. Later, as guests departed and we stood alone in the empty showroom, he turned to me. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave up on myself. You're my son. I'll never give up on you. Portland's lights reflected off the new store's windows like promises. Kevin moved through his life now with ease earned through pain, the bearing of someone who'd been tested and survived. I'd set out to protect my business from a predator, but watching Kevin now, I realized I'd done something more important. I'd protected his future, his ability to trust himself again, his potential to become the man he was meant to be. Jessica had tried to make him a victim. Instead, she'd inadvertently made him stronger. The revenge wasn't destroying her legally, though that was satisfying. The revenge was this: Kevin standing here, successful, recovered, better than before. She'd failed completely, and we'd won everything that mattered. She almost won, Kevin said quietly, looking around the showroom we'd built together, but she didn't. I looked at my son, older now, wiser, carrying scars that had become strength. No, I agreed. She didn't come close. Because winning wasn't about the money she didn't get or the annulment we secured. Winning was Kevin standing here, whole and purposeful, building a future she'd tried to steal. That was justice. That was revenge. That was love. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.